Hi, welcome. On this video,
turn left.
I'm going to be continuing the series on dog training, and again going through in a as simple way as
turn
possible.
Turn right onto Sweetwater Boulevard, then turn right onto Canoe Creek Road.
To help the average dog owner understand a process and why it's absolutely critical at the very beginning to understand why it is. I talk about a interaction-based approach, why it is that you want to follow a path that has influence
at the stop sign, turn right onto Canoe Creek Road.
As part of the process, based again on meeting a dog's social needs, but not just meeting their needs in the general way, but in terms of changing their perceptions in a specific way, okay, in terms of how their decision-making process is governed and influenced
in 1.3 miles. Turn left onto Novelty Road.
And with diminishment of unwanted behavior issues. Now, I'm actually heading right now to a service dog consult. And even again, talk about service dog training. Why it is that, again, you want to follow a sequence. And the issue about, focus, prior to connecting dots through responses. Okay, I talk through all of that. But in terms of just general, okay, your typical common and even difficult behavioral issues, it's no different, okay, in terms of a interaction-based approach. Now, here in this video, talking about some of the themes, I'm going to talk about the parenting example, which is very helpful. If you consider the themes within the parenting example, it'll help you make sense as to why it is that you want to follow the same path in terms of, again, a better relationship. And some of the themes, again, talk about some of the things about
at the next light, turn left.
Being proactive, okay, in terms of once you come to that kind of epiphany moment, and this is that, I talk about epiphany, reconciling behavioral issues and connecting those in terms of relationship, saying, well, you know what, I have a relationship problem.
At the light, turn left onto Novelty Road.
I have a relationship problem underway. Okay, having that moment is like the parent example, saying, you know what, my kid, okay, my child has a bad attitude. I mean, things, then starting to kind of really connect some dots here, say, okay, this represents that I need to, interact differently. Okay, I need to perhaps even change my parenting style, which is the issue. So that whole focus, understand that goes into this whole thing about what's our role in that. And, talk about dogs as pack animals, as social animals, how they connect with us that way. It matters as to, how we're interacting with, how we're connecting at that level. Just like our parenting role, absolutely critical. So understand our emotions play a tremendous, tremendous role. It really can blind us to the reality as to what's really happening, beyond just appearances, beyond the petting part. And it really blinds us as to how bad things really are. And that's common. But think about the parent example. It does the same thing. We don't have a sense sometimes as to how bad things really are until you'll have the kind of, revelation happens through certain interactions, or, say with the child interacting with their peers, certain situations, you'll say, wow, okay.
In 1.6
this
miles,
is not just some,
turn right onto Old Canoe Creek Road.
Some accident or coincidence. This is meaningful. Now, again, going to the whole themes of, again, I talk about, starting to get a sense of right from the beginning as to, okay, what's the right approach here? What is, I talk about the idea about learning. I asked the question, how is that presented and being marketed? What does that really mean? Is training really a learning-based exercise? But consider the jumping in point, and with how trainers are very superficially motivating these dogs, and the assumptions they're making that way. It's assumption-based. If the core tenet, okay, of the idea is flawed, well, now you got big problems, okay? I mean, understand that you can't trust what you see. And you might get a certificate, but does that, is that really what it's about? What does that really mean? Well, it means that there's a problem, serious problem, because then you're not going to have a predictable outcome. You can't, coming through the other side of a process, now that type of process, you can't, you're not going to be able to even know how much, whether or not perceptions are actually changing if your criteria is based that way just on a response level without influence actually revealing anything. I mean, think about what I'm saying. So, you know, revelation, or the ability to reveal, comes through a intentional, interaction-based approach. I mean, it's totally different. The methodology itself has to line up to reveal, but also change at the same time. But understand the same themes I talk about in terms of being proactive.
At the next light, turn right.
That's key. Being in the airspace different, right? You know, being engaged, being dialed in. You know, connecting all the dots, lining up behavior issues properly by way of relationship. Just like, again, as the child becomes more and more selfish, well, guess what? Behavior issues escalate. But then, you know, everything making sense that way too. Because understand, when I sit down with dog owners and really talk this out, it's like, okay, well, this actually makes sense. You just don't launch in and start.
Turn right onto Old Canoe Creek Road.
I just don't launch in and start to just do it, sit down, come and stay, using treats. I don't do any of that. And then just sell it that way. That's ridiculous, right? Because what are you doing, right? You're selling, right? You're marketing, you're selling a picture, and you're basing everything on assumptions, which may not even be true. Here we got an accident here, so I'm just going to take a second to work around this here. There's a rear end collision that happened here.
In 3/4 of a mile, turn left onto Capitol Boulevard.
But all to say that, again, it's about your starting point, okay? Understand that, you know, if you're looking at a process, you have to understand what is the foundation of that process, okay? What is the standard? What are the trainers looking at? You know, what's it based on, okay? Is it based on, you know, the picture itself being a real
Stay
picture?
in the middle lane.
Or a counterfeit. And I talk about a counterfeit picture. Well, yeah, that's your problem. That's people's problems, is that they're trusting what's being marketed that
turn
way.
Turn left onto Capitol Boulevard, then turn right onto Nations Way.
And again, it all starts at the very beginning. You have to be able to look at the actual idea itself to say, okay, is how you're jumping into a relationship problem a certain way. There's the issue right there. You don't. That's why, again, I talk about, you know, everything I talk about, it's all about the beginning. Okay, it's about saying, okay, this is where it all begins, at the very beginning. So the sad reality with so much of this is that oftentimes people don't even have a chance. Even if a lot of dog owners want it to be successful, they don't have a hope.
Turn right onto Nations Way. Then the destination is on your right.
They don't have a hope because you're not even getting the right information. You're not even getting the right process. You're not jumping in properly. It's not interaction based the way I'm describing. So there's your problem right at the beginning. So that's why I say it all starts at the beginning. And it's absolutely critical to get the right information right away. So I'll be talking more about this again, going through. Again, there's going to be a lot of me going kind of back and forth, and I'll be talking through this again. If you have any questions, you know, leave them on my videos. I'll answer them. I'm going to talk through a lot of this. I may be backtracking a lot and talking through because, you know, it's really important to get this stuff. Understand, if you're a dog owner, you have to understand what's going on here at the very beginning. You have to understand why it matters in terms of a process, you know, interacting with, the role of influence. I mean, that's so important. Just like, you know, being a parent, but you got to understand what's going on here. When people are saying, here's the standard, or you can trust appearances that way, you can trust responses and sit down, come and stay. That's a wrong way to think. I understand what all these trainers are doing. They're jumping in that way, the way I'm describing, and it's bringing people in a very bad position. Many of them selling counterfeit picture, and they just don't care. They're not going to talk through anything, because if they have to, you know, question it or whatever, that's going to turn their whole world upside down. And for a lot of these people, life is good, right? It's just saying, well, why am I going to do that?
The destination is on your right. 1971 Nations Way.
You know, life is good. And, you know, many of them just simply aren't going to do that. So it's all to say, they really encourage people to really think about, you know, why it matters. And again, if you have questions, contact me. I'd be more than happy to answer them. Again, I'm going to continue this series talking through all this stuff. Thanks for watching.